Hello everyone. Today, we are going to understand the configuration setting for Field AI. The agenda is to understand the configuration needed for the Field AI module. The configuration is done in three main sections. The first is the basic setup, the second is the document type, and the third is the configuration of the vServer for DMS and auto scheduling. In the basic setup, we will understand the required modules for Field AI, important notes, organization setup, roles and user configuration, configuration of the period control, and mobile app configuration verification. For the document type, we have the names of the document types, mainly the maintenance type. The second is sequencing, the third is mapping the sales order and sales quotation, and the fourth is mail template mapping. In this session, we are going to understand the configuration of the period control in the Onfinity system. So now let's quickly jump to the Onfinity system to see how to configure the period control. This is the Onfinity system's landing page. When a user clicks this icon, they can see their login details, including their role, client, and organization. By default, the Apply Filter option is set to True, which means all records created in the Sonic Venture organization are filtered based on the selected organization. For this configuration, I've set the checkbox to False. Go to the menu and search for Period Control. We already have several records available here, but for this demonstration, I'll create a new one by clicking the New Record button. Here, you can enter a name for the calendar. I'll name it Sonic Company Calendar and add any other information you like. I'll enter this as the Sonic Company Calendar for the year 2025. Then I'll click the Save button to save the record. Now we'll move to the Year tab to define the year. Click the New Record button to create a new record. The organization and calendar name are automatically taken from the previous screen. Now you need to select the calendar from the drop-down menu. Here we select 2025. You can name the year here. Most organizations follow an April to April cycle, so we will name it 2025 to 2026. You can also add any extra information about this year in the description field. Click the Save button to save the record. The next step is to define the periods for the year you just created. Let's go to the Period tab. You'll notice there are no records here yet. Instead of creating each period manually, let's go back to the Year screen. The Onfinity system has a built-in process to create the periods automatically for a defined year. Here you can see the Process Now button. I will click on it to start creating the periods. The system will ask for the month ID, which is the starting month for the period. If I select April, the periods will be created from April 2025 to March 2026. Similarly, if I select July, the periods will be created from July 2025 to June 2026. I'll select April for the month ID and click OK to start the process. The system usually completes this in less than a minute. The periods are now created. The system will give you a notification that the periods have been created successfully. Let's move to the Period tab to view them. The system has successfully created the periods from April 2025 to March 2026. If I click on any of these periods, you can find details such as the organization, the name of the period number, which is its sequence, and the year. You can also see the start and end dates of the period. Now the next step is to generate the period control for the created period. Let's go to the Period Control tab. Here, you can see the system has already created the period control from the previous process we ran to create the periods. However, if you create periods manually by clicking the New Record button, you can simply run the process to generate period control from this button. Now let's go back to the Period Control tab. The period status is currently set to Never Open for all document-based types. This means the system will not allow any of these transactions to be completed. A user can update the period status for any of the document-based types here by selecting the document type. I will toggle into this record by clicking on it or by using the keyboard shortcut Alt+T. Here you can see the details for this document type. The document base type is Material Receipt, the period is June 25th, and the period status is Never Open. To update the period status, a user needs to select the period action field and change it from No Action to Open Period. Then, they'll click the Save button and the Process Now button to run the process that updates the period status. After the process is complete, the period status will change to Open Period. However, since there are almost 43 records on this screen, it's very difficult to update each document base type one by one. This number can also vary from one organization to another. So, let's go back to the previous screen by clicking the back button and see what our options are. In our Onfinity system, we have a process that allows us to update the period status for all document base types at once. This is the button to run that process. I'll click it to start. When you click it, the system will ask for some information. First is organization, the organization for which you want to update the period status. Second is document base type. Here, you can select the document base types for which you want to update the period status. If a user wants to update the status for only 10 documents, they can select them in this field. However, since we want to update the period status for all document base types, we are not selecting any. The third piece of information is the period action, which specifies the action you want to take on the period control status. We want to change the period status to Open. I will select Open in this period action field, and then click the OK button to start the process. The system will give you an update upon completion that the period has been updated on the 43 document base types. Now, let's go to the Period Control tab to see the period status. Here, you can see that the period status has been changed to Open for all document base types. In this session, we have understood the configuration of the period control and how to perform it in our Onfinity system. Thank you for attending.